Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Maureen O'Connor from Quilters Heaven in Northbrook, Illinois, and I am the Opinionated Quilter. Today's episode, number 42, I'm bringing you a really fast, fun scrap quilt. But before we get to that, let's get to my opinion. This falls under the category of just because a pattern tells you to construct a block a certain way doesn't mean you need to do so. In my opinion, this is a perfect example of that there is a much better way to construct these blocks than the pattern calls for. This is Rob Appel's Sparkling New Year's Mystery Quilt, and it's a 35 block quilt with a block A and a block B. Here's block A, you make 18 of them, and block B, you make 17 of them. Block A is made up of this center unit here, which is what I would call a combo unit. It's the two quarter square triangles and the half square triangle. You put those together and then you have 12 half square triangles around here. Block B is 16 half square triangles. Now to me, these pieces are really tiny and not the easiest to piece. The way that Rob has you put these together is you start by cutting the quarter square triangles. You need 72 of color 2 and 72 of color 1, and they're pretty small. They start at 3 1/4, and then they're cut twice on the diagonal to get a pretty small piece. That doesn't make for the easiest of piecing. Then you have to take your color 3 half square triangle and sew it to your quarter square triangle units. Now, I looked at that and I said, combo units. Can I make combo units the Deb Tucker way? Well, if you make them the regular way, you get mirror image units, where in one, the dark is here, the lighter is here, and in the other, the dark is here and the light is here. So you have to make it a non-mirror image combo unit. And if you use her technique sheet, she tells you how to do this. And here's an example. This is a little bit bigger square because I thought it would be easier for you to see. But you draw your lines on your square, and then you sew down one side, a 1/4 inch away from the line, cross over, and sew down the other side of the line. And then you do the same thing for the other direction. Sew down, cross over, sew down, and then you go ahead and cut on your lines here, and you get pieces that are the same. Your dark is on the same side on every one, your light is on the same side on every one, and then you still have to cut your half square triangle units and sew them together. I thought that was easier than sewing the quarter square triangles together, individual pieces, and then adding the half square triangle to it. Then the other thing that he does is, I had said earlier that these are half square triangles. Well, I look at this and I see a flying geese or goose, and another one here, and another one here. So to me, in my opinion, much easier construction to do 4 flying geese, 4 non-mirror image combo units, and just 4 half square triangles instead of 12. In the block B, where he has the 16 half square triangles and puts them together, I see here a square and a square unit right here, 4 flying geese again, same as the other one, and 4 half square triangles. So I think we could do a whole lot better than this. I made sample blocks to show you. Give me 1 second. Here are my sample blocks made with the 2 different construction methods. Here on the left is the way the pattern is written, with the 12 half square triangles and the center unit made with the 2 quarter squares and the half square. Here's mine made with the flying geese. And if you'll notice, here, where this point meets up here, there is no seam to meet. You don't have 4 seams here where you have them here where you need to match them. In addition, you're making less pieces, less units to put together to make this block versus this block. Same on this one. On this one, you've got 16 pieces. On this one, you have 9. So do the math, much less putting together here. And the major thing that I see here is that this is one solid piece. And it also has the same issue as up here. This point has nothing it has to meet, whereas these need to meet these seams. So there's a lot more sewing smaller pieces and pressing over here than there is here. And again, I think this is much smoother. Now, in this one, because this is a light pink, almost looks like a solid, you don't notice that this is one solid piece, that this is 4 pieces, as much as you would if you had a print. So I did a quick little sample here with a print. Here's the print cut up into 4 triangles and put together, and here's one solid piece. So it's nothing wrong with doing it this way if that's the look you want to achieve. But if you want to see a whole picture on of the fabric onto this square, the square in a square method here is a much better option for the center of this block. Now I just want to quick go back to the first block again, because after I had made this sample block, I thought to myself, do I really need to make non-mirror image combo units? In many patterns where you need them, these blocks are farther apart. They're not in the exact same spot put together into 4 pieces. And I thought, could I do this an easier way? And what I did here is I made half square triangle units. And I trimmed them to be the correct size for a square and a square. And then I just put 4 half square triangles on the outside. So this is not pieced in the combo unit fashion. It's just 4 half square triangles. And I thought this was the easiest of all. So in my opinion, these blocks would be so much easier to construct than the pattern tells you. But that doesn't stop me from liking the quilt. I think the quilt looks really terrific. Here's my scrap bag. I'm looking for all my black and gray and navy scraps to start a scrap quilt. Oh, that's not wide enough. Oh, that's right. They're all gone. I pulled them out already. I've made them into a quilt. Here's my latest scrap quilt. It's a version of making the same shape over and over again. The difference here is I cut different lengths, but I put the same width. I used 4.5 inches and then put it into columns. Then I put this little black divider in between and also used it for a little border and made a scrap quilt that ended up being 51 by 74. How did I get there? I have 10 columns of 72 inches. So when you're pulling your scraps, you're not really going to know how much you have there. In fact, I pulled out so much that I can probably make 2 or 3 more quilts from it. And I remember years ago when Juanita used to work here, she'd say, every single time you make a scrap quilt, there's more scraps. So I'm challenging myself not to put anything that I pulled for this quilt back into the scrap heap. It either has to go into another quilt or it has to be a small enough piece left that it goes into the dog bed stuffing bag. So you'll see more of those coming in the future. But for this one, I cut pieces that were 4.5 to finish to 4, 6.5 to finish to 6, 8.5 to finish to 8, and 10.5 to finish to 10. And I just kind of put them together in a puzzle, laid them out to make sure I had the same length. Now, you don't have to do it that way. You could just make any number of pieces together as long as it was longer than the amount you wanted. So if you wanted a 72 like mine, some of your columns might end up to be 74, some 76. Then you can trim them all to the same length if that's easier for you. I was shocked when I put the strips together, the columns together, and I had them all at 72. I didn't have one that was under or one that was over. Like I said, shocked. But it was a whole lot of fun. I used, in addition to what I cut from the scrap heap here, I also used 1.5 yards for the sashing for the columns, the border, and that's enough then for the binding as well. And for the backing for this, and let's go through the math so that everybody knows how to calculate it for themselves. My quilt, I said, was 51 by 74. So I need 6 inches in addition to put the quilt on the long arm. So my 51 now becomes 57. So I take 57 and double it because I'm going to need 2 widths of fabric to get my 74 inches, and that comes to 3.25 yards. So that means I'll have 58.5 inches this way and 80 plus a little bit this way, big enough for backing. And it just came together so quickly. It cut up so fast that if you need something in a hurry, this one could be a great option. And again, this color scheme you've seen me do before. I think it's a great guy quilt, and I still have a few friends of my son's that haven't gotten quilts yet. So I don't know who's going to get this one, but somebody will. And I hope you will enjoy making one out of your scrap heap too. So that's the episode. Until next time, happy sewing.